Stop sharing right now.
Okay. All right, so you already have people coming in. Welcome, everyone.
That's it.
Welcome, welcome. We'll be getting started in a few moments. I can hear the birds outside, Richard.
That's coming through my window. Coming through my.
They're having a good time. They're glad that it's warm outside.
Right. They're having a ball.
So welcome. We have Aisha, Andrea Roca, not our Aunt Andrea, Benjamin, Daniel, Mary, Arshania, and Yavas Witherspoon. So welcome. Thank you guys for taking time to join us today. And then I'll also put in here where you could put questions. Guess we'll give one more minute for people to log in.
Good.
And I think you can get started, Richard, with your intro.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our Conversation in Black session for this month. It's going to be a exciting, powerful, wonderful, amazing session without a doubt. I will introduce our guests in a few minutes, but you are in the space of the Black Mental Health Alliance. Once again, for those of you who are new to our organization, we welcome you to this session. To many of you who have attended some of our past sessions or trainings, we welcome you back. These are the kind of sessions that we try our best to place in front of our community whenever we get the opportunity. They are strength-based, love-centered. They are community-focused. They are community engaging. They are transformative. They are just amazing in every single way. And we are coming to you live today with another one of those very life-changing and life-affirming session that we can't wait to get started. Again, my name is Richard Rowe. I am the director of the Training Institute for the Black Mental Health Alliance. Our executive director is Andrea Brown. I'm not sure she's on yet. I know she was running from another pretty important meeting. But I want to thank the entire staff of the Black Mental Health Alliance, our board, and Roxana Finster, who is always on board to assist with all the technical aspects of these webinars. Couldn't do it without her. So thank you, Roxana. So this session, you all, we are excited. This is the first session of the year. We generally have them every other month, but we skipped a month trying to really get ready for the entire year. And what better way to really bring the power of the Conversation in Black series to you all, starting off with a powerful session on Black music and art. So this series is entitled Collective Healing Through Black Music and Art. And my description of this session goes like this. Historically, Black music and art served as a soothing distraction from the worst of times, invoked a sense of racial pride, and inspired generations of Black people to unite and join forces to uplift and celebrate one another, to seek justice and to engage in civic responsibility. Black music and art, our culture, were also used to bring the bodies, the minds, and souls of members in the Black community into a clear state of inner awareness, and to restore strength to weary souls that were overwhelmed by the never-ending devaluation of their humanity. Our Conversation in Black session today will feature the gifted and talented servant leaders and community healers, Navasha, Daya, and Fanon Hill, who will share with us how they have used Black music and art to collectively awaken, inspire, empower, revitalize, heal, and transform the community they serve. I don't know about you all, but we should all know these two fantastic, amazing, genius level community servants, et cetera. I could go on and on. I'm gonna say a few things about them. I can't read their full bios, but I'm going to introduce them and then we'll let them share a few slides with you all. And then we're going to basically get into a little exchange. But I want to say a few things about the two of them, because if I had time, I could really, really just blow this up in terms of their work and who they really are. I'm gonna introduce Navasha first. She is called an astro soul goddess, you all, by the prestigious United Kingdom publication Mojo magazine. Navasha Daya is an exceptionally gifted and seasoned singer, songwriter, producer, musician, performing arts curator, certified holistic wellness practitioner, and spiritual and cultural arts activist who from childhood was inspired and encouraged to use her voice and talents to uplift others and inspire change. She's a Grammy Award-winning songstress. Grammy Award-winning songstress, India Ari. Yes, India Ari described Navasha's voice as the true definition of soulful. I don't have a lot of time, you all, but as a performing artist, I didn't want to go but so far with this tremendous bio. Navasha has performed all over the globe and has shared the stage with a bevy of artists such as Hugh Masekela, Angelique Kidjo, India Ari, Erica Badu, Run DMC, Rochelle Farrell, Common, Gio Scott, and on and on and on and on and on, you all. That's who we have in front of us this afternoon. She toured for a number of years with the Grammy Award-winning a cappella group, Sweet Honey in the Rock. Yes, she did. And yes, she has. And she, along with Fanon Hill, are the other part of this dynamic partnership, and two young mentees co-founded the Baltimore City Youth Resiliency Institute, now the Youth Resiliency Institute, with a method of utilizing art and culture to bring community healing and social change. Now to welcome Navasha, but now on to Fanon Hill. Fanon Hill, a phenomenal brother, you all. Filmmaker, Waterfront Festival founder, arts administrator, East Cleveland native. Fanon Hill is no stranger to community transformation through strategically engaged activism. Hill serves now as the executive director and co-founder of the Youth Resiliency Institute, a social benefit organization that provides culturally responsive arts based programming in East Cleveland, Ohio, and Baltimore, Maryland. Fanon Hill has served as a consultant for the National Guild for Community Arts Education, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, the Robert W. Dosh Foundation, and a multitude of school districts and organizations throughout the United States and Canada. In 2016, if I had time, I could tell you about his 2016 event at the documentary, Lam Nava Love, the unflinching story of Black families in public housing in Baltimore, Maryland, harnessing the power of art to challenge the systems and institutions that would dictate their realities. More and more could be said about that, and I'm quite sure he may get into some of that. In 2014, our brother Hill presented the White House, was presented at the White House and the U.S. Department of Education on the power of the cultural arts in Black communities with high rates of poverty. He has received congressional citations from the U.S. House of Representatives for his work as a cultural arts organizer dedicated to the application of resilience theory in disinvested communities. More and more could be said about the two of these powerful individuals, but time will not permit, because we would love for them to get started and for me to be quiet so that they can come to the forefront and really share their great story with us. Navasha, Daya, Fanon, Hill, how are you all doing today?
We are wonderful and blessed.
Wonderful, blessed, wonderful.
Yes, you all are. And again, we are in the presence of, some gifted, you all, talented folks. And the more I read about them, the more I learn about them, the more I'm so impressed with their greatness and with their work. Our executive director a few months ago asked me, she says, Richard, we're trying to really present some awards to some community folks who've been doing great work for years in Baltimore, in the Baltimore region. And she asked staff to really send her some names. And at the top of my list, of course, were these two individuals. Without hesitation, I sent them to her along with a few others. But we were so happy to have been able to gift them with a Maxie T. Collier award a few months ago, and we have not looked back. They continue to do great work. All of us should know about the work they're doing in the Cherry Hill community, and they're going to talk about that. But that's who we have in front of us, you all. Beyond what I've shared with you all, they are humble. They are, when we reached out to them and said, please, can we have you on this in this session today? Without hesitation, they looked at their calendar. We can't do it on this date, but we'll get back to you. They got back to us, and I'm so happy. We're so happy that we found the right date for them to come on. So I know they're saying, okay, Brother Richard, that's enough. Let's get started. So we're going to let you all say a few things about the Institute in the way that you can, the way that you will share that with us. I know you have some slides. You can basically get started in 1 second. Again, let me thank everybody who's on this webinar for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. I know you're going to be in for a real treat. Then after they do their presentation, we're going to ask them a few questions. We're going to open it up to you all. So if you have some questions, start putting them in the chat box, and we will basically share some of those questions with them. But we want this to be formal but informal. We want this to be a conversation. We want all of us to leave here on a high note, because even though there's chaos and confusion, not only in this city, but around the world, there's peace, harmony, love, and joy in this space. And that's who we have in front of us. So let me stop you all, and let me allow you, the two of you all, to just go forward with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So, first and foremost, just giving thanks to the Black Mental Health Alliance for this auspicious invitation to share. We are here today in the spirit of acknowledgement of ancestral legacy. We acknowledge individuals such as Dr. Maxie T. Collier, such as Israel Kasan, who recently transitioned, Baba Melvin Dill, Norma Freeman, Mama Jackie Reed. So we wanted to uplift the spirits, the energy of those pioneers, path setters, who we have learned from and continue to be inspired by. You know, how stellar, how humble Navasha and I are as we realize that we were invited to share today during the Harriet Tubman bicentennial year, marking 200 years since Queen Mother Harriet Tubman's birth here in the rich, fertile ground of Maryland. So, you know, we are extremely honored, and we're going to try our best today to honor the spirit of Queen Mother Harriet Tubman and all of those who continue to forward Queen Mother's energy in this time. Navasha?
Yeah, I would like to just offer a sound offering real quick in the spirit of the messaging of this session. Hishe Oluwa koleba Jehovah. Ishe Oluwa koleba Jehovah. Koleba Jehovah. Koleba Jehovah. Ishe Oluwa koleba Jehovah. What God has built cannot be destroyed. Never. Sure.
Amen. So, you know, at this point, Navasha and I, what we want to do is so as to establish a context per our work, our collective work and responsibility. What we're going to do right now is we're going to share imagery. We are an art-based organization, as Baba Richard Rowe shared, the Youth Resiliency Institute. It's an art-based organization rooted within the community of East Cleveland, Ohio, as well as throughout Baltimore City, with the priority focus on historic Cherry Hill in South Baltimore. And so we would not be an art-based institution if we did not share visuals. So what we want to do right now is give just a brief overview of the Youth Resiliency Institute in our work. And so in 2010, as Baba Richard Rowe shared, the Youth Resiliency Institute was established. We are an organization under the umbrella of Fusion Partnerships, Inc., based here, obviously, in Baltimore, Maryland. Methodology-wise, the Youth Resiliency Institute is very distinct in the sense that, you know, we look for solutions to problems that plague our communities by trusting the wisdom of those who live in the community. And, you know, that seems very basic. It seems like, okay, well, of course, but unfortunately, that is not the methodology that oftentimes is employed in our beloved communities, whether in Baltimore, whether in Ohio, whether in Philadelphia, so on and so forth. And so we established the Institute as an epicenter that provides arts and culture, opportunities for career development, cross-generational programming. We utilize rites of passage tactics that speak to the needs that have to be addressed in the communities that we serve. We are very, very excited about our work in the sense that our work is, we see it as an innovative laboratory. For instance, the individual you see on the screen now, that is Brother Black Man, Baba Don Aziz, Black Man. And he is an author and a poet, lifelong resident of historic Cherry Hill. And a number of years ago, when we met Baba Don, Black Man, we knew that we were going to do any and everything we needed to do to support him. And so we've traveled with him, and we have, as an organization, provided opportunities, cross-generational opportunities, as this photo speaks to, for him to share with children in the Cherry Hill community. So this photo, or the photo you just saw, speaks to our methodology per how the Youth Resiliency Institute not only offers art-based programming within a community setting, but we partner with schools as well and make sure the children in those schools are able to see someone who lives in their immediate community, an artist who understands the genealogy of the community and is able to motivate and invigorate artists who are emerging in that immediate community. As an organization, we also support other organizations who are involved in amazing transformational work, such as Safe Streets Cherry Hill. And one of the outcomes of our work in Cherry Hill was the development of the Safe Streets Cherry Hill Community Boosters Club. We understood collectively that Safe Streets Cherry Hill, they cannot do the work for violence prevention alone. And so what we were able to do was have a series of community conversations. And out of those conversations came the Safe Streets Cherry Hill Boosters Club. And the photo on the screen now actually speaks to a performance art speak out, where we actually organize speak outs, where there's poetry, where there's African drumming, where we make sure that new members of the community are aware of who those violent interrupters, those credible messengers are in the community. So we utilize arts and culture to facilitate introductions, and in during other times, reintroductions in the community. We make it, once again, our business to ensure that artists from Cherry Hill or artists who are currently in Cherry Hill are able to share their artistry. So right now we're seeing a photo of Brother Kirk, tremendous musician from Cherry Hill. Guitarist. You want to speak a little bit?
Yeah, guitarist. He's from Cherry Hill. He's really kind and is a trained musician and really loves his community. So in meeting him and learning about his work, bringing him in, our methodology is community engagement. We include community engagement, and a part of that is recruiting and identifying artists that are in the community to give back and be the presenters, to be the workshop leaders, to be the ones that's assisting. He no longer lives in Cherry Hill, but he's from Cherry Hill, and so we utilize him for working with our Baltimore Guitars Against Violence program, teaching young people, children guitar, and also performing at different events. This one is a Juneteenth celebration annually that we have at the shopping center, and then he performed at our festival as well. And this, we have an elder, Baba Ademola, from Baltimore. He conducts Rites of Passage ceremony, and he's engaged with one of our youth, talking about the power of nature, the power of celestial navigation. And we were engaged, obviously, during COVID outside with our young people. We never stopped engaging with our families and young people during the COVID. Well, we had a pause, and then we found a way to do it socially distanced outside where it was safer. And so he was presenting to our young people, because to us, it's important for them to know the luminaries within Baltimore City, not just within Cherry Hill, but Baltimore City and beyond. So they know that they have safe havens to go to, people that they know who are doing the work to feel good inside themselves and always have that connection. So you see him with one of our young people, and all the young people are around somewhere, but this is capturing the young people talking and he probably asking them a lot of questions. We call him the little president. And then here we have an induction ceremony for our elders. This is 2016, 15, a Kwanzaa celebration that we had in the community that we gave, and we inducted a few elders. You have Michael Middleton, who was a longstanding Cherry Hill leader, was born and raised in Cherry Hill. You have Mama Shirley Folks, from right to left, Mama Shirley Folks, who we partner with in our organization, which Fanon may share a little more about later. And then we have Mama Cleo Walker, the prayer warrior, Mama Reverend Pastor, who's a lifelong resident. She's been in her location she left, born in Cherry Hill, left for a while, and has returned and been there for 65 years. To let you know how long she's been there. And Mama Mamie, who was just a solid elder in the community, who works with our organization, works with our young people, and our young people look at these elders as anchors for them. They know they can talk to them, they know they can get assistance from them. They come to us directly, but the elders have another tier in which, even for us, assist us to open doors and to give in context and history within the history of the community.
So one of the aspects of our work speaks to African-centered, culture-based rites of passage. And I'm going to speak a little later about personally my experience, which informed the work that we do per rites of passage in the Cherry Hill community, as well as in East Cleveland, Ohio. But this image right here speaks to a group of young people, and this was a public induction where they were publicly being introduced or reintroduced to the Cherry Hill community after completing a series of rites. And, you know, it's really important to us, significant, that we provide opportunities as an organization cross-generational opportunities where it's understood that everyone has a role. There's something that everyone can contribute in their community. And so rites of passage as a process in terms of how we utilize it, sanctions young people. It acknowledges the gifts that they have brought into the world, and it definitely prepares them for evolving campaigns that may have to be developed to address systems of oppression or structural racism that they may be facing, or we want to be sure that they are aware of they may have to face at some point in their lives. So rites of passage, as we're discussed, is a central feature within our work.
So another aspect of our work, this is an outcome of our work. So the Cherry Hill the annual Cherry Hill Arts and Music Waterfront Festival is rooted in our philosophy and methodology. And we have rituals and experiences that we speak to our lineage and the strength of our communities and our connection to each other. So our festival is an output of our work in Cherry Hill and what our work looks like. So at the festival, also, there are artists who perform that we hire nationally. Really important to us to hire musicians from the community to share the stage with national and Grammy Award-winning artists so they can put it on their bio. That's very important, professional development. And we also have place spaces for vendors from the community. We also have art exhibits and everything for the community. And our young people and community members are staff for the festival as well. So we want to share that with you. And it's something that the whole community looks forward to. And even with any development, the community fights says, no, we have a festival. So we're really proud of that as an outcome of the work and the experiences and the rituals and the community bonding that we work to provide.
So we most definitely wanted to provide you with a very brief overview with visuals to give everyone a sense of what our work looks like, on the ground in the community. We're looking forward to this conversation to go a little bit deeper in terms of how our methodology impacts community, whether we're speaking about elders in the community, family structures in the community, or even how we work with and oftentimes have to hold accountable mainstream arts institutions that are rooted within a Western concept idea of arts and culture that does not represent the needs of community members and historic communities such as Cherry Hill. So we're stopped right there, and we're really looking forward to diving into a conversation.
Thank you for that powerful opening introduction to the Youth Resiliency Institute, Navasha and Fanon. Powerful information shared, and hopefully, we'll have some folks who will lift up some questions about the work. But again, I want you all to take that deeper dive, if you will. We are, an organization, Black and Health Alliance, that is deeply involved in the psychology of our conditions. Just how our attitudes, how are we responding to trauma, how are we responding to, the race-based trauma, historical trauma. All this appears to be part of your work, that you all are going to our cultural artifacts and our music and our art to really, really bring to our community healing approaches and healing techniques that are non-traditional in so many ways, but our tradition. And would love for you all to really, go deeper as to why you all believe from a emotional and psychological perspective, and within that framework, why this approach is so important, given what our people have gone through and been through.
That's a good answer. Question. For us, how we were raised and our upbringing really informs this work. I was extremely affected by people like Chuck Davis and Linda Thomas Jones, and my parents, and the community I come from, going through rites of passage as a young girl, being guided by elders in the community through arts and culture, and spirituality as well. And that really affected me as a young woman in my development. Obviously, I'm a singer. I've always been a singer and a dancer. And so my gifts were identified by elders in the community. And that was really, really powerful for me. And so that informs our work and my work personally in regards to mentoring, but also in the work that we create or that we develop in the the curriculums that we develop within the Youth Resilience Institute, and how our experience affected us and how we want to give back in that way. One of the things that we definitely bring to the work is that we do a lot of youth voice leading things. So our Juneteenth event is led by youth. And we found out in our upbringing, there were times we got to speak, but there was times when we didn't get to speak. We had long speaks by the elders, Ajua, Kwesi, just all these elders speaking, giving information, but we want to give space for the young people to also share and also share intergenerationally. So that's one of the aspects that we include within our program. And I don't know what you want to add.
Yeah, and to, Navasha's point, that lineage is very important. And I definitely want to shine a light on the fact that both Navasha and I came of age in the same village of East Cleveland, Ohio. And that small village in Ohio was connected to other villages throughout the United States and globally as well. I definitely need to publicly share that coming of age in East Cleveland, Ohio, as part of a African-centered Rites of Passage process, I was aware of an individual in Baltimore who was doing tremendous work by the name of Baba Richard Rowe. And so coming of age as a young person and visiting Baltimore during Rites of Passage opportunities and seeing a Baba Richard Rowe, growing older and continuing to hear about a Baba Richard Rowe, a Baba Daryl Kennan, an Adamola, a Mama Rashida. We are of a community. And in terms of, why the Institute, the Youth Resiliency Institute was created, it really speaks to the fact that this is a continuation in terms of understanding continuity, cultural continuity, artistic continuity. I will never forget visiting Jessup Correctional Institution, and there was a Baba who was there, and he shared about the difference between role models and real models. Baba Richard Rowe is a real model. Been doing the work, and here we are now. Here I am as a man, full circle continuity, being able to share and to acknowledge the lineage. And so within our work, as an art-based organization, we find it very, very important to tap into the knowledge and wisdom of elder artists, the Mama Paula Whaley, who's a doll maker, who creates dolls to help heal individuals who have experienced tremendous trauma. As Navasha shared about, Baba Melvin Deal, a dancer, Chuck Davis, my introduction to the arts was not through instrumental music, was actually through African dance. And to have this choreographer, this amazing dancer, the late great Chuck Davis, come to a community that was demonized, put down, looked down, such as East Cleveland, and to recognize the gifts that we had as young people artistically, helped me understand what I referred to earlier as the functionality of African art, in terms of how we as a people have traditionally used arts and culture as a healing structure, as a healing essence that can get us from this life passage to the next, and how collectively we can tap into arts and culture and activate it in a functional way, as we're going to share it through a clip a little later, to a foster healing as such. So, to answer the question, both Navasha and I just really wanted to be sure that we articulated the importance of lineage. And when we're working with families where there may not be a father or mother in the home, there may be a grandparent raising that grandchild, a great grandmother raising that great grandchild, that is still a family structure. And how do we use arts and culture to connect that family structure to supports in a culturally responsive way, where there's familiarity and there's transformation that's taking place?
Yeah.
Right. And I'll check the chat box in a second, but I'm loving this conversation. So I'm off camera because I don't want you all to see the tears coming from my eyes from the praise that you all have bestowed on me. But I hear you on, and Navasha started this off with a ancestral song, with a song to the ancestors, with a song glorifying, from whence we've come, and giving honor to the creator of all things. And we've come through a lot over these past several years. Since Freddie Gray, and even before Freddie Gray, Baltimore City has gone through a lot of trauma. Has experienced, people in this country, city has experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of violence. poverty, concentrated poverty has overwhelmed so many of us. And so here we are now. You all are talking about, how culture and how art and music, because I know for a fact that what has elevated me, lifted me, and allowed me to come through these very, very challenging times is listening to a Tracy Chapman, listening to a Hugh Masekela, listening to a relative of Navasha, Daya, one of my favorite. And if you check my playlist, Gil Scott Heron is all up and down that playlist. I mean, Curtis Mayfield, I can go up and down, and many of us in the audience can go, speak to that, speak to, again, you all, how we have to really rely on these cultural practices, rituals, and artifacts in order to make it through. We got young people contemplating suicide. We got older folks. I was on the phone today trying to help two brothers, who were basically on the bridge, as I call it, trying to figure out, why they can't seem to get themselves together because of the forces from without. You all are basically inserting into this very challenging space a tremendous art form, a tremendous platform, festivals, Rites of Passage programs, etc. And I want you all to, again, go a little deeper and talk to us again, because folks are coming out of this, out of this pandemic that all of us have experienced, a lot of stress. I'm driving these days, and I know there's something got a hold of a lot of folks as they're speeding past me, trying to get to the next red light. It's like we're on edge. And I know because of the power of you all's presentation and the work that you all are doing, you all are tying all this together, ancestry. You are basically intergenerational. You spoke about honoring the elders. You basically are focused on the youth. There's a greeting that I'm quite sure we all know that we lift up as often as we can, Kinseria and Gara. How are the children? That was the warriors' way of letting everybody know that even though we are the warriors of the community, we have to basically be concerned about what the most vulnerable in our community, to make sure they have safe passages. And I love you all's work, because that is what you all is encapsulated. Everything that I'm talking about and everything that you all have shared is encapsulated, not in just words on paper, but in the work. So I want you all to maybe talk about, how the community is responding to the level of using our culture in the way that you all do. How are they responding? Speak to the stressors and the high levels of stress that is evident in communities where there is high levels of poverty and violence and so forth. And Brother Fanon, if you will, you have basically lifted up a resilience theory that you have, basically either that you have further developed. And we need to hear more about that theoretical framework as well, if you don't mind, not to make this too academic, but would love to see how you have used that in the work that you're doing in that community. I know that was a lot, you all.
We're going to try to piece that, but we're going to start with the theory first, then we'll talk about community.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, honoring time and answering that your very, very important question. The Youth Resiliency Institute, we utilize what we call emancipatory family engagement. And an emancipatory family engagement, per our application of that, is born out of resistance struggles, waged by Black families over time, right? We understand as an organization, we see it day to day, the impact of chronic stresses, and even more so, the community context, right? Oftentimes, we hear about chronic stressors, but, not often within the context of community. So what does that mean? It means that as an organization, we utilize arts and culture and focus on the role that Black artists play in community settings as first responders, so to speak. And as first responders, these individuals whom we're speaking about, who I'm about to share about, they understand what is known as a set of protective factors. They're aware of protective factors. So within resilience theory, there are protective factors that allow for individuals, whether we're talking about children, youth, or families, elders, to remain inoculated, to remain healthy psychologically and physically. And what's so important about your question, Baba Rowe, is one of the strongest protective factors that we discovered, that was revealed to us in the Cherry Hill community, because every community, every context, there will be different protective factors. But in Cherry Hill, cross-generational family engagement was one of the strongest protective factors that was revealed to us. The role that grandparents and great-grandparents played when we were engaged in conflict mediation, the mere presence of elders within a room where there would be young people attempting to navigate a conflict, the wisdom, or simply the presence of those elders saying, we see you, we sanction you, we are not going to leave you until this is resolved, really speaks to the importance of those protective factors. And in terms of, staying true to the context of this conversation and what we established, once again, this is Harriet Tubman's bicentennial. So I want to bring into this conversation an individual, a great grandmother and playwright, whom in Cherry Hill we affectionately call Mama. She's known as Mama Shirley Folks. And when we first met Miss Folks, lifeline artist who's in her 70s now, she shared with us that she had never been invited to a theater in Baltimore City. Now, when we think about the arts institutions in Baltimore City, these are institutions that receive municipal funding. They receive tax dollars. They have a responsibility to address the needs of community members. That was not happening, and sadly, it is not happening like it needs to happen today with all of the trauma that we're seeing. And so one of the things, Baba, that we wanted to do to provide an opportunity, we've never done this before, in the documentary Lumnava Love, we have screenings, and Lumnava Love as a documentary, it really speaks to our methodology as an organization, but it celebrates the wisdom and tactics Mama Shirley Folks has used over the generations. So what we want to share right now, per your question about how do we address the trauma, the microaggressions that we face with day by day in, Mama Shirley Folks, during our family engagement training a number of years ago, she created a ritual. And this speaks to the power of rites of passage and the power of ritual and how these rituals can heal us, the importance of evolving rituals that fit a specific context. So we want to share with you a very brief clip that speaks to a ritual Mama Shirley Folks developed in public housing. And we're speaking about, once again, Cherry Hill public homes, public housing. And this great grandmother, Mama Shirley, who has been shot, a bullet entered her apartment and she was shot, but she continues to do the work and to utilize ritual and to develop opportunities to heal families, whether we're speaking about mothers, fathers, children. So this clip right here speaks to a fire ritual that is in the documentary Lumnava Love that Mama Shirley employed to help a mother address something that was oppressing her spirit.
Okay.
And thank you for the patience. Here your
No,
patience.
no, we're good. We're good. Take your time.
To burn all the old stress and hurt and not feeling good, so that we can start all over, start brand new with a brand new day, a brand new year. And all the problems you had last year, we're not carrying them into this year.
I'm so sorry for not being there for you in your precious life. You have taught me values, showed me tough love. All my life, you have been there to protect me and teach me right from wrong. Okay.
So the individual in that clip, Latifah, whom we call affectionately the Incredible Woman, out of a process of emancipatory family engagement process we led, she actually created a character. And that character is called or named the Incredible Woman. And so what Latifah Dorsey does now, after going through that process, after that ritual, is she shares about the strength of Black women in her community. And so she is now a first responder in her immediate community. And so she's traveled to Ohio and she shared her methodology, she shared her story. And so we thought it was very important to share that clip because Mama Shirley is in Cherry Hill, but there are Mama Shirleys throughout Baltimore. There's Mary Disharone in Albemarle Square. There's Mama Greta Carter in Southwest Baltimore. And so as an organization, it is our responsibility to support, to learn from, and to celebrate these individuals who are holding our communities together with oftentimes very little support, but with spirit and understanding continuity, connecting to a spiritual presence that is really allowing them to do the great work that they're doing.
Okay. We wanted you to see, I was struggling a little bit, see her face and just what she's become in her statement from her journey.
And given that this is Women's Month, Black Women's Month, or Women's Month, I mean, what better way to really, lift up, our power and our strength and our resilience and so on. I mean, as a result of the grandmothers and the many Black women who hold the sky up, no matter what they are going through, they have been the strength of our community. And we really appreciate you all sharing that with us. Again, I mean, you would like to think you all listening to this, that this, the application of your theoretical, and I'll call it for lack of a better word, of your I'll call it transformational work, because that's what it really is. I mean, you all are going into communities where a lot of folks refuse to go, and you have parked yourselves there to do this very important work. And we should be honoring you all, and folk like you all who basically have taken our playbook into the community, because we keep looking to others to solve our problems. And then you all just basically confirm for a fact that we have the practices. We have the trauma-informed care or the healing-centered engagement approaches. We have the approaches to really lift ourselves up, to validate ourselves, and to move our community to the next level. And for reasons that we know, and you all can maybe share some of your thoughts around this, because Gil Scott Heron would do it. In his music, he basically lifted up every issue that we're talking about today. If you listen to his music today, it is so relevant and so meaningful, in terms of the depths that he went to really lift up the pain, the suffering, and the forces from without that continue to really to deny us. So again, that's the work that is critical, and that's the work that's very important. Someone asked a question about getting youth involved in this very, very important work. And I know you all talked about that in your opening slides, but someone wanted to know how else and what other things that you all do in order to make certain that this generation coming behind us is intimately and very involved and is internalizing. Because if we're not internalizing and institutionalizing this stuff, you all, this not stuff, but this very critical cultural artifacts and rituals and practices. If we're not institutionalizing, then the forces from without consumes us and takes us off of our frequency, and they constantly program us to do to ourselves, to self-destruct and to group destruct. So again, that's on my soapbox. Don't want to, don't want to go there, but so much. But you all know what I'm talking about. And so the youth, getting our young people involved. What do you all say about that? How do you
So
all do that?
as an organization, we're citywide. And so initially, we also have parents that would just, refer them to us. And we conducted Rites of Passage. Their children need mentors. So that's one avenue. And we have a lot of young people now who are like in their 20s who we've worked with citywide, who are now in college, who we still mentor and assist and bring into Cherry Hill who are not from Cherry Hill to assist with programming. And Cherry Hill, starting off with Mama Shirley, when I met her in 2007, 2008, and brought some young people with him to help her with some programming, said, I'll be back. She didn't believe him. He came back, brought me, Youth Resilience Institute. So we started citywide and within Cherry Hill at the same time. Within that time, Mama Shirley had a summer camp and had young people in after school programming, and she really needed a lot of support and resources. And so we had zero private or public funding at the time. And so we brought our resources, our people that we were associated with that had different skills. We brought those folk in to teach. I taught music. We brought ball, books, whatever was needed. And in those times, we earned trust. We developed trust between Mama Shirley and the community, because just because we're Black, people assume you just go anywhere. You have to respect every person. I can't just walk in your house. So we developed trust. And over time, we did, family engagement. We had dinners and emotional learning, always incorporating the arts in our work. And the young people watch you. Young people watch you to see if, if you're really the real deal, if you really care. And they can feel it off of you. Because Fanon and I both love children. And I both have educational training and backgrounds, and because you can have the training and academically, but it has to still be in your spirit and your gift that you were born with, to be honest. I know we have an interesting cycle here in this country where you can get a degree and not be really naturally gifted for the purpose of it. But anyway, I digress. So we earn the trust of the young people, and then they recruit their friends. They say, hey, it's peer-to-peer methodology. They recruit their friends and say, hey, this thing I'm doing is so fun. We do this, we do that. And then they feel that sense of family, because we work intergenerationally. We always have. And so we discovered it through the work, but we always did that, and because it's just necessary. You can't just like, oh, you're too young to be in a program, or no, we don't do that. We don't discriminate at all. So over time, and then the young people tell us what they want to do. The parents tell us what they want to do, and I want to do African drum. I want to paint. I want to do this, go fishing, whatever. And we provide that. We contextualize it. So there's a learning aspect. It's not an activity. There's a self-development, a cultural response to that. And it relates to our methodology and our mission. And we do the work that they ask us to do. So I think over time, you develop the trust with the young people, and then they get older and they start leading and recruiting young people, which our young people are doing now. Our young people who are like teenagers are recruiting young people and mentoring them. So it's just a cycle, and that's important. Then we have young people that we know that we work with who are now turning 30 this year. Almost all of them are. And then there's that. Maybe they come back and work with the youngers, and they're like, wow, you work with them. So it's an interesting cycle, but the intergenerational work really does help in the peer-to-peer methodology. I don't know if now you want to add to that.
No, I think, everything that Navasha shared, also speaks to the fact that we're very intentional about the need to cultivate, once again, rituals for young people as they're transitioning from childhood, going into this cycle or this transitional period where they're young adults or adolescents or teens, as they're referred to, but understanding that there have to be rituals that are cultivated. So if there's a young person, for instance, who is traumatized and has been traumatized in dealing with grief as a result of losing a friend in the community, we discover that and we create a ritual where we uplift that young person who lost his or her life. And I'm speaking to, for instance, Angelo Dangerfield, a young man who Mama Shirley wanted me to meet, who was murdered in the Cherry Hill community shortly before I was able to meet him. And his death impacted the totality of that community, but specifically young males. And so we knew that we needed to develop some sort of ritual that would keep Angelo Dangerfield's memory alive. So Navasha spoke about the Baltimore Guitarists Against Gun Violence program we have, where we teach the young people basic guitar methodology, but nonetheless, we utilize guitars, and on those guitars that are donated, we actually have art that celebrates Angelo Dangerfield. So Angelo Dangerfield's essence, his memory is living on through the music that the young people are playing. But that's just an example of the type of rituals that we have to be very aware of, cognizant of, that are needed, so as to make sure these young people are getting what we as adults have a responsibility to give them, because as I shared earlier, we received it. That was fed into us by the Rites of Passage community nationally. And so now we're in the spirit of continuity, we're maintaining that to the best that we can.
Right. By the way, Brother Fanon, your father, Paul Hill, you call him Dr. Paul Hill, is one of the tremendous champions and founder of the National Rites of Passage Collective, I believe, if he's still not in charge. He was instrumental in making certain that Rites of Passage programs proliferated across the country. He has written extensively on this topic, and so we don't want to leave out, again, the lineage, the folks who basically have come before us and have left behind the playbook for our salvation, elevation, and transformation. We've got to constantly repeat that and share that and say that over and over again, because again, people on this call, all the forces from without have been targeted at denying and causing us to not know who we are, to not know what we've accomplished, to not know us, and we sometimes get excited when we hear about the first Black person who has done this, even though we know that there's natural genius and talent in so many of us, overlooked and basically ignored. We've got to basically bring what Navasha, Daya, and Fanon Hill is sharing with us in their presentation today. Let me show this out, because again, this, I was in my research on you all and the Institute, I came across a quote that is so powerful. And I thought it was by, the gifted psychiatrist, Dr. Franz Fanon, who I'm certain, Brother Fanon, your name,
Yes,
I
sir.
know your father, and I know your family, brother, so I'm quite sure your father saw something in Dr. Franz Fanon, the Martinique, psychiatrist who, black skin, white mask, and The Wretched of the Earth, and so many other great books. But there's a quote that you shared, and something that the Black Men Health Alliance lifts up as often as we can, has to do with, we see your humanity. Your quote is, art humanizes the dehumanized. Yes. So I thought that was Dr. Franz Fanon's quote. That's your quote, brother. And so I want both of you all to really, because again, that's where we are in this space. How do we see each other's humanity? How do we see each other's humanity, lift the humanity up, and where does that humanity begin? And again, I'm usually throwing out a lot of African proverbs. The ruin of a nation begins in the home of its people. I don't want that to be a deficit-based proverb. I want it to be strength-based, because I know so much happens in the home. It starts there. And if we can get our folks and our communities to understand that that's the primary institution where everything begins, and turn those institutions, the home, into healing stations, into healing institutions, into culturally enriched, high-level, educational institutions, and I think we're going to be on our way to the North Star that we're all in search of. But Brother Fanon and Sister Navasha, say something about that quote. Speak to that quote. Art humanizes the dehumanized.
So I'll start it off. I have a real, you have different soapboxes or different things you're concerned about. I'm really serious about language. So you have classical music, classical European music. I like to specify that classical is a status. And so therefore there's classical African, classical Indian, classical Asian, whatever. And so I think when you're dealing with healthy cultural identity, knowing who you are and acknowledging the culture, because there's a lot of times people want to eliminate the culture part. Eliminate the lineage part. And that's important. We cannot forget. I remember growing up and being Afrocentric, or being African-centered actually, it was made, you got made fun of as a young person. I did when I was younger. And now, thank God, you know, the imagery is accepted and people are celebrating it. But that's really important. Then you go into the philosophies that you're talking about, and how to live those philosophies. So we work really hard to live those philosophies in our work with the young people. Also, they say that, you know, education, if it's just done in school, then they're not truly getting a true education. So as a community-based anchor arts institution, and within Cherry Hill specifically, we work really hard to be that extension from the schools and the home, so that there's some kind of growth and healing that happens in identifying gifts, identifying obviously protective factors and things like that, so that the children and the adults who receive assistance as well are able to really prosper and blossom and have their rightful space in society and in the community. Because if you don't know your gifts, what is your space in the community? You're searching for that. So we utilize arts and culture to do that as well. So art humanizes the dehumanized. Fanon, you wrote it.
Yeah, well, just quickly for the sake of time, you know, definitely Baba, Richard, Baba Rowe, I just really appreciate you lifting up my father.
That's powerful, brother. It's powerful, man. Come on, man.
Lifting up my father, and you know, my father continues to do the work within the National Rites of Passage Institute, as well as my mother. And if you ask my parents, it's my mother who would say, well, I was the one when you came into this world
that named him.
That named you. But you would have to talk to both my mother and father.
Right.
And my mother took me through rites of passage as well.
Wow.
But quickly, I guess I could just respond to that question through art. To see Navasha, my soulmate, my wife, perform, whether she's on a stage with hundreds, thousands of people experiencing her gift, or whether she's in public housing in East Cleveland, Ohio, or, you know, in Baltimore, there's an exchange that takes place. And to be present, to be part of that ritual through her artistry, her music, really helps you understand, you know, what it means for art to humanize the dehumanized, to see people in tears, to see people saying, you have saved my life through your artistry. And so as an organization, as individuals, we try to channel the spirit of Queen Mother Harriet Tubman. We try to channel the resistance struggles in terms of the tactics that were used so we can live and not have to survive.
Wow, you all, anybody else with questions, you can either come off mute and simply ask the question, because we're getting near the end of this session. We want anyone who may want to lift up a question or even share a comment. There's a Sister Janine who is also on board with our organization, stated that she appreciates the work you all do in this space. Truly love and appreciate how you all's work counters the false narrative often fed to Black folks, without a doubt. And so you all can, you know, respond to that, or you can also, you know, respond to this question of how do you all basically connect with mental health services in the Cherry Hill community? How is that brought into your work, or how do you all, is there a complementary aspects of mental health services and the work that you all do? Because again, we know, and we've been taught again, that our mental health was not important for a long time, that, you know, we can endure pain, that we can overcome any and everything. You know, men were taught to man up, don't even sit on your pain and sit in your silence or silence the pain. So we've been taught a lot of things that have caused serious, you know, problems psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually in our community. This is what we've been taught, still being taught. You know, and so would love to have you all share with the audience, you know, again, how mental health factors into your work, because, you know, we could talk about the clinical aspects of mental health, but it sounds like you all are taking a few more steps beyond the clinical aspect of mental health and going deeper into, you know, the spiritual, the soulness of our overall mental health and well-being.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, share quickly in terms of responding to that, another important question. our work is connected. The Youth Resiliency Institute's work is connected to the National Rites of Passage Institute, which is a national hub, actually an international hub. And within the National Rites of Passage Institute, there are amazing practitioners, amazing scholars, and we're able to connect with them. I think, for instance, of an individual by the name of Dr. Randy Potts, who has done amazing rites of passage work, but has also done great mental health work in terms of providing those supports for members of our communities who have been touched by the criminal justice system. So in terms of how he is able to support our work by providing rituals, by helping us develop collectively rituals and providing supports for those whom we work with who have been touched by the criminal justice system is very important. And I share that also to say, what we have been able to do in terms of lifting up the work of the Black Mental Health Alliance. It's one of the most important things for us in terms of when parents ask us, well, or adults ask us, I'm looking for this support, I'm looking for that support, I don't know where to go. To be able to point them in the direction of the Black Mental Health Alliance is so, so important, and has really assisted us in terms of, because if we don't know something, if there's a skill set we do not have, we're going to make sure our community gets what they need. And making sure that when we direct them to those individuals, that institution, that they have a track record and they are respected. And so the collective work is very important around mental health and making sure that we're connecting folk to the right individuals.
And then there, as a holistic wellness practitioner, I implement different techniques and strategies in the one-on-one engagements. Also, we have a lot of family members that have their own personal mental health and counselors that travel with them, that meet them at our programming. And quite a few of them have really been excited about seeing the support and how the work that we do is dealing, social workers, they have social workers who are, the work that we do is reminiscent of social workers, or reminiscent of the needs that they had to address the mental illness. Now you have chemical imbalance, that's going to psychiatry and some other places, but as it relates to emotional, social, emotional learning, the well-being of a person, we've had crises that we've had to deal with in real time as an organization and bring healing and let the energy resolve. That's happened many times. If you're doing community work, it's going to happen. And in those moments, there's no phone calls you can make unless someone's bleeding. You don't send them to 911. You're dealing with emotional, mental, and usually actually root is spiritual. You're dealing with that. Then you're dealing, so we haven't had to address many of those things and develop programming in response to that. And so we've been really supportive of the natural counseling and therapies. Our families check in with us to update us on what's going on with the young people, with their counselors, with their psychiatrists, so we can support and develop programming to address them individually in their journeys, because then there's identifying their strengths. Because when you're feeling, there's chemical imbalances. We have an elder right now, we have chemical imbalances, then you have emotional, and people can feel, go crazy from a bad divorce. You can go crazy for being rejected and from something. So there's a place you can catch it before it goes really far and people start prescribing things, right? So we really work we look at the aspect of healthy cultural identity as a really great foundational aspect of mental health, as well as the spiritual. Now, the spiritual is very personal, but we try to bring aspects of nature, being out in nature, having that family vibe and family energy to provide a space. And when it goes beyond that, then there's referral.
Wow. Powerful. Excellent. Again, great work, you all. Great work and powerful presentation on your work. It would seem to me that, Fanon Hill and Navasha Daya's work would be lifted up more in this town, given where we are now. You may not want to respond to this question that I'm getting ready to pose. Is it being recognized? Are you all, because I'm constantly being approached, because I used to do rites of passage programs, as Fanon indicated some years ago. Folks are looking for rites of passage programs. In fact, I was contacted last week by a sister who wanted to know if there were rites of passage programs for young Black girls. I couldn't respond favorably. I simply lifted up, the womb, the sisters from those two sisters. I went forgetting their names.
Mama Kay and Mama Rashida.
Mama Rashida, right. So I know of their powerful work, but there is a need, no doubt, you all, we have 18,000 disconnected youth in this town. we have, I mean, I can go down the stats in terms of where we are from a deficit standpoint with regards to disconnected youth, foster care, even within our schools. We see reports where our children are reading some at elementary grade levels. I mean, we got some issues and some problems, you all, that we need to be very, very straightforward in acknowledging and alerting our community to how, if we don't do what you all are suggesting we need to do, cultural identity, know thyself, know who we are, know where we're going, because that culture gives us those three important helps us with three important factors: identity, purpose, and direction. And if we know who we are, then we are in a better position to know why we're here and then where we're going. And that comes from the Rites of Passage, framework as well. So the question I'm posing is the need for more of the services that you all are providing citywide. Is that something that you all are in talks with city leaders, or has there been a resistance to support the work that you all are doing? Hopefully you all can read between the lines in terms of what I'm asking. Fanon or Navasha?
I mean, that's a very critical question, very important question. And, our work is also rooted within advocacy, within organizing campaigns, developing organizing campaigns. So for instance, with our work supporting Safe Streets Cherry Hill, the reality of the fact is, early on, in terms of me being blessed to have met Baba Leon Farouk, Noni Farouk, who were engaged in blueprinting Safe Streets, the Safe Streets model here in Baltimore. But per your question, over these years, I've seen the shift where Safe Streets has actually, in terms of its base being within the Department of Health, and then shifted to its base being in terms of in City Hall. And so what does that mean in terms of the supports that Safe Streets need, how we support the families of Safe Streets violence interrupters in the city? And so we are engaged in ongoing conversations with elected officials, right? With individuals who are part of the nonprofit structure here in Baltimore. There's an accountability factor that's built within the work that we do. Now, quite interestingly, it's amazing because we actually do get calls from individuals in a community-based setting who are engaged in daily acts of resistance, right? However, their work is being done on the margins in communities, in Black communities, and is rarely acknowledged, right? And that work is also more often than not dismissed by individuals within the city, the state level, as not being work that has outcomes, has outputs. And so your question is extremely important because it's the responsibility of those of us who are doing this work to advocate and to engage in organizing campaigns to hold these structures, elected officials who are not responsive to the needs of the community accountable. And so we've been able to do that. Last thing per your question I will share is that the Cherry Hill Arts and Music Waterfront Festival, collectively, when community came together and we understood that Cherry Hill had a right to have a festival on par with national waterfront festivals, there were individuals in the city who said, why would anyone come to Cherry Hill for a festival, right? And so just want to be sure that even within arts and culture, we recognize the functionality of African art, but we also draw from that functionality to address those structures who do not believe that certain communities should have appropriate funding for cultural arts opportunities that uplift, that ironically shine a light on the city of Baltimore, but are oftentimes dismissed as not having or being connected to outputs that benefit those immediate communities those festivals are held in.
Yeah. So we have the obstacle of funding to support it. You have the obstacle of people understanding the context of this, because the cultural you used the word earlier, but that the culture is not popular in the funding world, outside of, especially with Black folk, there's Asian, there's the Asian culture, the Native American funding, the funding for Mexicans and Spanish speaking people, and other Spanish speaking people, excuse me. But African Americans have a way that we're looked at that's like, oh, you don't have any culture. And so there's a couple of layers of resistance and things that we have to navigate through as an organization, as a resilient organization, as it relates to support for things that we do. Also, I want to share with relates to Rites of Passage is that there's a process. Like I shared earlier, my mom worked with his dad back in the day. There was a group, he was in, I want to say you were in Simba, and I was in Malika, and it still exists. They just changed the name to Kansas. My sisters who went through Rites as well are part of and helping to run now in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, in East Cleveland, Ohio. And so we went through that as a young person. I have friends who all went through it together. Then what? Then you have a process, then what? So the youth resiliency, we deal with the before and the after Rites of Passage as well. And that's something that we noticed that in our experience, because we both have parents and very engaged in our community where we had that before and after, and it never stopped for us. And that does make a difference as well. And then when you have experienced that, had that experience, giving back to the community, not necessarily just the Afrocentric community who has the information, but what we're doing is going to the places that maybe they've had taste of it, and the young people might be hearing I May for the first time from us. I'm always very tickled by that. I'm like, why am I the first one to teach you how to go? Why am I the first African song lady? Why am I, you think I'm from Africa? That we're in 2022 and we don't have a context of culture within the school system, within community. So I feel, as Fanon shared earlier, the lineage part and the moving forward, like the Chuck Davis and the Leonard Thomas Jones and our own parents and what they did in the community is still necessary. So I want to share that you have rites of passage processes where children go through things, knowing who they are, but that continues forever. There's passages in every 8th decade. There's elder rites of passage. There's a whole process. So we identified all. We are looking at all of that. That's why we work intergenerationally to support elders in identifying themselves, to be useful, to be in spaces so they can understand that who they are in their place versus this youth celebrated culture where everything you have to look young forever. Like, no, there's a place and a beauty about aging. Thank God you're still here. That's the benefit of aging, right? And so as young people, as younger, middle-aged people, we understand and lift up our elders in that space too, because we listen to their discussions about their feelings of being called elders and babas and I don't know, and all that kind of thing. So we're trying to address that as well, even though we're not elders yet. That's why we did the installment with the elders in Cherry Hill. And I had one of mama, she said on her bio, she says, I'm a traditional African elder. And she was proud. And because she is really, and what is that? So with our work, we really work hard we are changing narratives right now, and we're building on the narratives of our elders, including yourself. And so in doing that, there's a work that has to be done by
That's right. There's a question raised by by Andrea, our executive director. I think you all see it. It's what about rites of passage for adults? And I think, Navasha, you were speaking to that. Because again, I know where Andrea is coming from as well, because again, if we don't know, the elders don't know, the adults don't know, how can they teach the youth? How can they teach the youth what you all are sharing with us and what we know is critical for our survival and our prospering in a society that basically does everything to counter our humanity or deny our humanity or deny our culture. I mean, for 2022, for us to be talking about some of these cultural artifacts and the significance of them and the importance of them is just, mind blowing. But that's where we are because of the programming that is incessant, is unyielding. It never stops. It's 24/7 social media. Where do you go if you're not reading? If you are not reading these, and getting information from all the powerful books that we have at our disposal. If you don't want to read, go on YouTube. You can see some of the powerful presentations by genius level thought leaders that we've had past and present. So there's really no excuse, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. As we get close to the end, you all, takeaways from the work that you all are doing. If you all could maybe just talk about what lessons learned, what we should take away from the work that you all are doing and what you all need in order to continue your work, not from the outside, so to speak, but from the inside, not from folks on the outside who sometimes are not friends of ours, now claiming they are allies, but from the folks within our community. What is it that you all need from us? So I've asked 3 questions. I mean, lessons learned, takeaways that you all might want to leave behind, and then what else do you all need from us?
Right, most definitely, in terms of takeaways, the importance of recognizing the creation of art in one's own community serves as a powerful tool that can reestablish community-based structures of knowledge, remembrance, economic power, that has to remain central within our work. One of the things that we wanted to do, once again, we're an art-based organization, and both Navasha and I are artists, is we definitely wanted to end per that question, and I'm glad that we had this clip prepared just in case we had time to share it. We have a brief clip. It's the trailer for Nava Love, right? And I think within this short clip, the questions that you asked will be answered. Okay. And we want to definitely share that in 2019, at the onslaught of the pandemic, we actually had to press pause on our screenings of Nava Love. But prior to the pandemic, we actually have screened this documentary as a tool, as a knowledge product nationally in Boulder, Colorado. We had 3 school districts in a college in Phoenix invite us to a screening in 2019. And all of the screenings we have, Mama Shirley is there front and center. She is not a subject in this film. She is actually an individual who has knowledge base in tactics and strategies and wisdom that she employs, whether we're talking about at a university level in terms of setting up a Rites of Passage program, or whether at a community-based level in terms of working with populations who may live in public housing. So we did want to close by sharing this trailer for Nava Love that kind of speaks to some of the takeaways that we want individuals on this participating in this webinar to be aware of, and to also know that this work continues, and to please see us as a resource. Anything we can do to support efforts that are pro-social, we want to be involved in supporting those efforts as well. So we do, and hope that you enjoy this trailer, which is about 2 minutes.
Outstanding.
Sorry, let me do it again. Make sure I got the sound. That was doing.
The Black family in Baltimore, and indeed in America, operates as a site of resistance. In many ways, Black families living in public housing are like modern-day Maroons.
I don't understand that it don't work. I just don't ever want to fail a kid.
Baltimore City, the land of the old.
What I know about Baltimore is that the people there, no matter what they look like or where they're from, are interested in liberation.
The Journey Project was chosen as a grantee because of the process that they take in doing their work.
Rites of Passage is something that we evolved from the past. Even though it may not have been called Rites of Passage in the past, we call it Rites of Passage today. But it's a socialization, culturalization process.
L'homme Nava, the concept is how, if you want to demonstrate your love to somebody, you reach out to the person.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even made a club track if I hadn't moved to Chariot.
When considering the disparities the conditions that Black families living in high poverty communities in Baltimore face, you begin to realize that not even Edgar Allan Poe could have imagined such a ghastly predicament.
Thank you all so much for this invitation. This has been absolutely amazing, and we are just so appreciative for the work of Black Mental Health Alliance, Baba Rowe, Mama Andrea Brown. This has been, tremendous, and please see us as a resource. Any ways we can assist your work and uplift your work, we are there.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Well, you all, we praise you all. We love you all. We honor you all for the work that you all have done and continue to do, despite, all the barriers that have been placed in front of us. We know this work is important. We know that our people deserve this work. We know that we have everything we need to really move the needle in our community. And it's a matter of practicing the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. It's a matter of, lifting up, all the work of the Dr. Asa Hilliards and the Amos Wilsons, all those powerful, beautiful Francis Cress Wilson, all the folks that we know have left behind the playbook for us to really achieve and to be successful in this world. So we honor you all. We praise you all. I urge folks to go to you all's website. You all need to Google Brother Fanon Hill and Sister Navasha Daya, and check out some of their music. I was going to bring up a clip from that I discovered. It's all about freedom, and you all were playing excerpts from that as my way of honoring the work that you all are doing. But it's a powerful, powerful combination of art, culture, and music that I know can save us and lift us up. And so we honor you all, praise you all, and the sentiment that you all shared in terms of assisting everybody else. We are also in place to support and assist the work that you all are doing. So don't hesitate to call on the Black Mental Health Alliance early and often, because we've got to do this work together. You all, love you all, appreciate you all, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule. Sorry to keep you all so long, but we really appreciate and thank you so much. Have a great one. Be well and be safe. And everybody else on the webinar, we appreciate your time. Again, Black Mental Health Alliance is a membership organization. Check out our website and become a member and support the work that we are doing, because the work we're doing is for the we and not the me. You all be good, be safe, and everybody take care. Peace.